Well, friends, yeah, when I was invited here, I was reminded of a brochure that JNU had brought out, I think in 2000 or 2001 or something, about itself, probably the first time and probably also the last time, which had a statement by the Vice Chancellor, then Vice Chancellor Professor Ashish Datta, which I would like to read out to you. The statement was, JNU is as much of an experiment as a university, where diversity of opinions is a way of life, interrogating received ideas an unceasing quest, and intellectual creativity a field for adventure. I brought this along with me because I think this captures the spirit of JNU, the academic spirit of JNU. This is what JNU was all about. Questioning, question received wisdom, create more wisdom, create new kind of wisdom, and take it as an adventure rather than as a career. That is what JNU was. That's what JNU was known for. Please forgive me for a little bit of autobiography. One has to, there is a bit of nostalgia involved in this, so one has to talk about oneself a little bit. I'll try to make it minimum. I studied at Delhi University, BA and MA and PhD, and taught there for about 11 years before coming to JNU. Delhi University in the 1960s, 67, 68 or 68, 69, some of us, three of us had formed a kind of group there, not a faction but a group. Professor Romila Thapar, Professor Bipin Chandra, in fact not three of us but two and a half or half of us, Professor Bipin Chandra, Professor Romila Thapar and I as the half. The two and a half of us had formed a group, doing several things, and one of the things that we wanted to do was to change the syllabus of the JNU history department completely, because this was the syllabus handed down to us by colonial regime. We had educated ourselves on that kind of syllabus. We were teaching that kind of syllabus. We were very bored with that kind of syllabus. We wanted to change that. And three of us, or rather, as I said, two and a half of us, created a kind of stir there, wanting to change the syllabus. And there is a setup there called College Council, I think it's called, where teachers of the department and of the colleges in the same discipline, they constitute a kind of council, which is very good democratic body. So it's not merely the department which decides, but teachers of the discipline all over the university, in all its colleges, they decide on whatever decisions have to be taken. So we convened meetings of this, and we argued that these are very outdated courses. We need to change them. Let me also say, I was saying a little while earlier, that late 60s and early 70s was a period of great hope, great optimism, great hope for change, not only in India also, but around the world. This was a period when there were great issues in front of everybody. There was the issue of Vietnam, above all, which moved everyone. There were superhuman figures around which inspired everyone. Figures like Fidel Castro, Ho Chi Minh, Che Guevara, and so on and so forth, which inspired everyone. And therefore, change for a better world was in the air then, And it is in that context that India, in 1967, Congress government lost, Congress party lost all its elections, all the states from Punjab to West Bengal, as it used to be called, except Delhi. So there was a great deal of optimism, enthusiasm, energy that things are going to change. And therefore this need for changing the syllabus, history syllabus particularly, but I'm sure other disciplines also. History syllabus, this change for history syllabus was inspired in a way by this change that was there in the air. It hung in the air. And surprisingly, there was enormous resistance to this change. And the resistance not only by, not by the senior teachers of Delhi University, but young teachers. What's we have been going on is fine, everybody is happy, why do you want to change? That resistance really broke us completely. And then in 1969 or 70, JNU came along. And therefore, the attraction of JNU was that it was a clean slate, absolutely clean slate. You could do what you want. The freedom that JNU promised, the freedom to teachers, the freedom to faculty, the freedom to students, that freedom that it promised to us, that was the great attraction. So we, three of us of course moved, but many others moved, and I'm talking of my center, but of course all of JNU were new. So the great Vice Chancellor who had never been an educationist, G. Parthasarthi, he kind of gave a vision to the university. Not merely appointed faculty and so on and so forth, gave a vision to the university which has survived till now. Just as Nehru gave a vision to the country, both Nehru's vision and GP's vision in JNU are both under attack now for obvious reasons. But they were not merely, one was not merely the Prime Minister of India and the other was not merely Vice Chancellor of a university. They were visionaries, gave a vision to the country and to the university. And the vision was, make it a university of experiment. Make your experiments with whatever you want to do, with your courses, with your examination systems, with whatever you want to do. Experiment with it. Your freedom, complete freedom. No boundaries were laid down. And therefore, we came in, faculty came in 1970, 71. G. Parthasarthi invited some of the most distinguished faculty from around the country in Prabhat's center. Krishna Bhardwaj was invited. He was the most outstanding economist. In my center, Pramod Yadav, S. Gopal, Bipin Chandra, Satish Chandra, all the most eminent of historians, they were invited. And at the younger level, lots of young people promising, and some of us in the middle, we all joined in 1970, 71, 72, like that. I came in, I think, in 71. And that year there were no students, so we were given 1 year to experiment with what kind of teaching we want to do, what are the courses we want to teach. Romina Thapar was the first chairperson of my center, and she created an institution which is a wonderful institution, namely Wednesday faculty meeting. She decided that every Wednesday from 11 to 1 there will be a faculty meeting. Faculty meeting will not be called, it will be there, it is there. There the chairperson will go through all the agenda, etc., etc. And after the agenda is through, the chairperson will go to each person sitting there, asking, do you have any questions, do you have any comments, any questions? So it became a completely democratic system. Everybody, irrespective of whether one is a very, very senior professor like S. Gopal and Satish Chandra, or a junior, very junior person, young person, irrespective of that, everybody had the freedom to ask any questions, seek any clarification, make any comments, make any suggestions, whatever. And we also insisted, just to emphasize the point of egalitarianism, we also insisted that the size of every faculty member will be the same, irrespective of whether we are a professor or a young lecturer or whatever. That just to insist that there is egalitarian. The fact that you are at a higher level and drawing probably a little bit higher salary doesn't entitle you to any privileges. Privileges are all equal before us. Therefore, this Wednesday faculty meeting was a great institution because it democratized the whole functioning of the center. And in that center, in those faculty meetings, we knew we wanted to do something different from what we had learned ourselves as students, and we have been teaching, but we didn't know what. So we all sat down, and we would sit down and discuss amongst ourselves, and then bring it to the faculty next Wednesday, and then change, and then discuss and elaborate, and so on and so forth, modify, and so on and so forth. After about 1 year of preparation, we set up a kind of course structure, and an examination structure, which was very, very different from whatever we had experienced in our own teaching and learning and teaching career. The first emphasis that we gave was that we have the minimum of lectures in the classroom. Why the minimum of lectures? Because lectures in any case is not a very great way of imparting knowledge. The best way of imparting knowledge is to acquire it yourself. And therefore, we insisted that we give more time to students to go to the library, give them a theme, give them a topic, give them a bit of bibliography, and go to the library. A, go to the library. B, write up a tutorial, as it was called, write a tutorial. And C, we divided our teacher. There used to be small groups of students, about 20, 10, 12, 20, like that, initially. These were divided into different groups, 3 students, 4 students, 3 or 4 students in each tutorial group. In each group, each student will come and present his or her tutorial to the class. The teacher sitting there, smiling benignly at everyone, not interfering too much. Every student comes and presents his or her tutorial to the class. The rest of the class asks questions, and the student has to answer those questions, etc., etc. Now, the point there was that a student should think for himself or herself, rather than carry the knowledge that has been given in the class, take notes and repeat that. None of that. You have to write tutorials, present them, learn how to present your argument, learn how to question others' arguments, and learn how to defend your argument. And this was done 32 times in 2 years in MA course. And therefore, by the time they had done it 32 times, they gave excellent. Our students gave excellent interviews everywhere they went. They had got so polished there, not merely for giving interviews, but as I said, for thinking for themselves. They had their own arguments, often arguments at variance with the arguments of their teachers, and that's what we very greatly appreciated, when their own arguments were at variance with the arguments of their teachers. So that, and secondly, we instituted the semester system. Yeah, genuine, real semester system. The problem with annual exams, which is prevalent everywhere, which was prevalent then and which is still prevalent everywhere, is that you have in each paper, you have about 20 questions, and of these 20 questions or 25 questions at the most, you forget about the 10 questions which appeared in this year's exam. See, they will not appear again. So now you are left with about 10 or 15 questions. To prepare 10 questions, 12 questions, and you are bound to get 5 questions out of that. That's to say, you don't need to study throughout. You study, maybe in February, March you start studying, and so on. Let me tell you a beautiful anecdote. While I was in Hindu College of Delhi University, college teachers were also asked to teach in the university, so I was teaching there, and one student used to ask very good questions. I was very pleased with him. In October, November, early December, he was very regular and used to ask very good questions. And then from about January or so, he started absenting himself. So sometime in February or so, I ran into him on the street and I said, so and so, why have you stopped coming to my class? So then he gave a beautiful answer. He said, sir, he said, now I have started studying seriously. So that's the system, start studying seriously in January and February. to appear in the exam. Prior to that, there is all free time. Now that's what we wanted to do without, and therefore every tutorial which you have to submit in 10 days is an examination. So you are studying constantly. You are not studying. There is no period of leisure time and then you study at the month of February. You are studying constantly. You are being examined constantly. Every tutorial counts towards your exam. Therefore, if you are studying seriously in that young man's language, seriously all the time. And therefore, this hawa of examination, oh my God, it comes and then you are suddenly very serious, you lose all your sleep, etc. That hawa is gone, you are constantly interrogating, arguing, studying, questioning, finding answers all the time. And you are doing it for yourself, not because so and so professor so and so has said it in the class and that's it. And therefore the excitement that students got when they came to JNU, when they came to the class, and they were, some of it Kanhaiya Kumar has described in his book, the excitement that he got when he came to JNU. You could ask questions, you could not only differ from the professor, but earn respect from the professor for having differed with him or her. That is what inspired Kanhaiya Kumar. But Kanhaiya Kumar is because he has put it in his book. But that's what inspired most students. And I'll tell you one. Towards the last 3-4 years of my work here, I started experimenting with making an experiment. You have, at the end of the semester, you have the end semester exam and you have about 7-8 questions and you ask the students to attempt any 3 of these, etc., the standard. I put 6 or 7 or 8 questions in the exam and in the question paper. And at the end I wrote a note. If you are not satisfied with these questions, please frame your own questions and answer them. And this excited students enormously. Apart from the fact that how do you yesterday or today you saw these UP exams being held and how do you steal in a paper where you set your own question? I was a week or so ago, one young lady from Jamia, she wrote to me saying that, sir, I heard about this and I also have made an experiment in Jamia. The same experiment, I have asked my students to frame their own questions and they are greatly excited with this. So these are experiments we are making all the time. So the student, we were constantly questioning our own received knowledge, which we have received and which we have imparted to the students, renewing our own knowledge through interaction with each other, but more than that, through interaction with the students, we have renewed our own knowledge. And I must confess that, whatever little bit of reputation I have received as a teacher or as a historian is primarily based on one article of mine called "Was There Feudalism in Indian History?" which questioned the dominant paradigm of Indian feudalism, which was dominant in Indian history at that time. So I questioned that. And that bit of reputation I owe entirely to the students, my students here, because I was asked to frame a course on feudalism, and I taught that. And in the course of teaching that, I learned so much from the students' questioning and classroom and so on and so forth, that I was able to write a paper which has not been ignored, let me say. So that, it is this interaction between students and teachers which was a great thing in JNU. The constant questioning of oneself, of others, of each other. That was the great thing in JNU. That's one part of JNU. The other part of JNU is something that you in a way indirectly mentioned, was the culture of protest. Protest against social injustices. protest against anything which was inhuman. So protest against the most powerful in the country. Let me give you a couple of instances to illustrate this. 1982, there was a Asian Games, I think, Asian Games possibly, yes, being held in Delhi. And a 5-star hotel was coming up in Vasant Vihar, which still stands here. And naturally, the construction workers were employed there and so on and so forth. And construction workers, the law lays down so there should be a creche for the children, there should be toilet, there should be this, that and that. None of it, and this should be the minimum salary and so on and so forth, None of it was there naturally. JNU students, boys and girls, went there and went on organized all of these construction workers there and insisted that they should be paid the salaries, made the payments that are due to them, give them impression for their children, etc., etc. JNU students succeeded in getting what was due to the construction workers. Now, none of their business. They have come here to study. We are told again and again, you go to university to study. Why are you indulging in all these kinds of activities? JNU students did that. They got the construction workers their dues from this 5-star hotel that I forget what it was. Vasant Continental. At that time it was called Siddharth Continental. Right. Then I think there was a fire there and they changed the name. They did that. Then, 1977 is a very memorable year for us. This was the year when emergency was lifted, new elections were held, freedom, etc., etc., etc. And the JNU SU elections were held after, I think, 2 or 3 years. There was an emergency, naturally there was no election. And there were two contestants, there were several contestants, but 2 of them, one from the official left, that's to say CPIM, SFI's candidate, I think it was Sitaram Yeturi, and then there was a non-official left led by a Trotskyite called Jairus Banaji, was a brilliant, absolutely brilliant scholar who had come to JNU to study history, but he already had established his reputation as a good historian, very highly learned. And he had put up a candidate called Rajan James. Right. Now, the election meetings will begin at 9:30 in the hostel after dinner and go on till about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. And the real contest was not between Sitaram Yeturi and Rajan James, but between Jairus Banaji and Tripathi, Devi Prasad Tripathi. Devi Prasad Tripathi represented the SFI, now he is in NCP. But at that time he had won SFI election here, he was president earlier. He represented and the main issue of discussion for these elections was Stalin right or Trotsky right? That was the issue on which a JNU SU election was being fought.
Yes.
And it was a delight to.
I was a part of it.
You were a part of it. It was such a delight to listen to the debates between Jairus, and Jairus was great scholar of Marxism, of Trotskyite, of course, and on European history and so on and so forth, but very little about Indian Marxist movement.
He used to carry capital in the speeches and quote capital.
Yeah. And Devi Prasad Tripathi knew a great deal about Indian Communist movement, didn't know a great deal about theory, and very little about the European Communist movement. So each one will try to draw the other into his area, and each one will try to, it was such a delight, And can you imagine any university in the world?
Festival. Actually, in our time, it was called a festival.
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine any university in the world where election is fought on whether Trotsky was right or Stalin was right or any other two figures were right or wrong.
No, I'll clarify.
Yeah.
No, in '82, when the Soviet Union occupied Afghanistan, it was occupation, the Politburo documents are out.
Right.
That election was fought only on Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Then you had Solidarity, Poland.
Right, right.
The next election was fought on Solidarity, Poland.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the culture of JNU. Fight elections on these issues. And in that 77 election, there was also a new Yuva group. Samajwadi, Yuvjan Sabha, right. Right. And that candidate used to raise questions of better hostels and more facilities and he was a kind of comic figure in that. So but that's one part of it. There is another incident I like to narrate before I end. 1982, I think. Indira Gandhi is back as Prime Minister. And she was also the Chancellor of JNU. Prime Minister was the Chancellor of all central universities, ex officio at that time. Then it's changed later on. But at that time it was ex officio Chancellor of all central universities, including JNU. SIS, where we are sitting today, is older than JNU. SIS used to be in Sapro House and it was incorporated in JNU. So actually it was older than JNU. And SIS had turned 25 years, I think in 1982, possibly, or around that, 81 or 82. And they wanted to celebrate their 25th year. And they invited Indira Gandhi to inaugurate the celebrations, and Indira Gandhi agreed to it. The Students' Union said that they will not let Indira Gandhi enter the JNU campus. There was no, probably, I forget whether new campus was there or not, but anyway, whether...
Down campus,
yeah. It was held in a tent in down campus. They will not let her enter the campus. Why? Because she had imposed emergency on the country. So they will not. And Nayudamma was the Vice Chancellor. And Nayudamma was a very, very democratic person. Very, very democratic person. He negotiated and talked to them, etc., etc. So students said nothing to him. She can't enter the campus because she had imposed emergency on the country. Then he said to the Students' Union, look, she is the Prime Minister of the country, forget it. She is the Chancellor of the university, forget it. She is a citizen of India, isn't she? So they said, yes, sir. She has a right. So she has a right to enter. Any citizen of India has a right to enter the campus, doesn't she? So they said, yes, sir, that is quite true. Then he said, okay, you let her exercise the right of entering the campus. I'll let you exercise the right to protest against the entry. You see? What a wonderful democratic kind of solution. So it happened that she came, there was a tent put up there was no building then, there was no auditorium, tent put up there, no old campus. She came there and the students gathered outside, and as she started speaking, they started shouting down, down, high, high, etc., etc. And just think of it, a Prime Minister of the country and a Prime Minister like Indira Gandhi, such a powerful Prime Minister like Indira Gandhi. She is not being allowed to speak in a university which she had founded, of which she is the Chancellor, where she has invited. And she, of course, she finished the speech quickly and then she left in great anger. And why did you invite me if you could manage, etc. Quite rightly. Then what happened was, one student had smuggled himself into the tent. And with a view to, this was a kind of guerrilla action, he'll make noise inside the tent, And the policemen were very suspicious, so one policeman was posted right there. And as soon as he rose, the policeman got hold of him and, sort of smuggled him out of that tent without him being able to make any noise. That was alright, until then it was okay, it was love all, as they say. But then after that the police did what they do best, namely beating. Then the students were enraged after that. So far they were shouting and so on, so forth, that's all. Then they really got it. What did the Vice Chancellor do next day? He went to the Students' Union office, which was also located in the SIS building in the down campus. He went to the office and said, "I'm sorry, police shouldn't have done that." He apologized to the students. That's the kind of university JNU is. That's the kind of Vice Chancellor JNU had. Not saying, "Wow, how dare you insult the Prime Minister, etc." He said, "Police did the wrong thing." And everything, all tension dissolved. This does this. But JNU students have imbibed this spirit of studying society and therefore taking up social issues. Studying society not in books and lecturing about it and writing learned articles about it and getting good jobs and going to seminars. That's of course yes, okay. But doing something much beyond that and committing themselves to society, repaying to society what society has given them in terms of the education that they have received from JNU. This is rare about JNU. This is the rarity about JNU, and this is the rarity that is being attacked, that is under attack, and for reasons that we all understand. I don't know whether JNU has the capacity to survive. State's power is enormous. Anywhere the state's power is enormous, and the state is quite determined to exert its power, all its power to demolish the spirit of JNU, for which JNU has earned so much of laurels around the world. That spirit of JNU, which apart from laurels, JNU has stood up as a beacon of light to the rest of the country. It is that spirit that the government, the present state, is so intolerant of. I don't know whether JNU, Prabhat and I have retired. I retired long ago, 13, 14 years ago. Prabhat also retired quite some years ago. But we feel the pain of what's happening to JNU. It's enormous pain to us to see what's happening to JNU. I hope JNU survives. I hope you young people will not let JNU surrender to state. It's my hope and it's my prayer. And with that prayer and that hope, let me hand over to Prabhat.